Now along these lines, let's see who gains what when they cooperate with each other in determining the future status of Kosovo, or when they help accelerate this peace process. When we look at a very long and impressive menu of the benefits that every stakeholders may receive following the resolution of the future status of Kosovo, one will once again come to a clear realization that the United Nations facilitated peace process in Kosovo has all the necessary ingredients and the potential with a long list of merits to ultimately come to a successful and conclusive ending. Let's look at that menu. From the international point of view, the European Union and the United States are left with no more time to lose, and obviously they are presently very keen in working together to win the peace process they had begun in Kosovo. As everyone knows, the future of Southeast Europe or the Balkan region lies in the Euro-Atlantic integration, and this is why every state from this region, as you can see, aspires for such an integration sooner rather than later. On the other hand, the question of a long-term endurable peace and stability in larger Europe lies in the Euro-Atlantic integration process of Southeast Europe. It is therefore, I believe, very clear that it is in the prime interest of the European Union to bring the status quo in a stalemate in the region to a final ending by determining the future status of Kosovo. For this, Europe may use all forms of incentives, including the European Union integration or accession incentives, as well as other economic incentives to bring the Serbs and Kosovars to an acceptable and to a mutually beneficial resolution of Kosovo's future status. Likewise, it is in the very interest of the United States of America to cooperate with the European Union by opening the doors to NATO accession for the countries in Southeast Europe that qualifies to become members, and thereby create the conditions for a European takeover of the very mission that we have in Kosovo. The sooner the future status of Kosovo is determined, the faster such a move will allow the United States to free about 7,000 American troops presently deployed in Kosovo and to use those forces somewhere else, in certain other war-stricken locations, or perhaps to use them in the ongoing war against terror. Therefore, one could clearly see that Southeast Europe represents a great potential for both of the United States and the European Union, and that's why they are keen, therefore, to work closely together to bring the unresolved situations in various parts of this region to a peaceful and to a final ending. Furthermore, as you know, the entire Southeast Europe suffers from bad and fragile economies, high rates of unemployment, lack of viable economies that are beyond crime and Western aid. It is therefore very essential for EU, for the European Union, to establish some firm basis for the economic growth of not only Kosovo, but the entire Southeast Europe, for their economies to speedily grow, for their borders to become free for the legitimate and increasing flow of goods and people, and for the lines of their communication and their transportation to be extended throughout the region, all the way from Durrës across the Adriatic Sea in Albania to Sarajevo in Bosnia-Herzegovina. In this context, the European Union, I believe, will ensure that Kosovo is becoming economically a viable place. Kosovo's economic viability could not be helped, I must say, unless similar approaches for economic growth are not followed in the rest of Southeast Europe. Hence, it's absolutely essential that the United States and the European Union are to help facilitate vital regional trade and exchanges all the way from Albania, as I mentioned earlier, to Bosnia-Herzegovina in the Balkans on one hand, and between Southeast Europe and the European Union on the other hand. Such approaches will bring both Kosovo and Serbia, the Kosovars and the Serbians, under the safe umbrella of Euro-Atlantic structures. I must add here, as for as Kosovo is concerned. Without its future status being determined, there remains, of course, little hope for attracting other foreign investments, from beyond Europe and from outside the region in Kosovo. This is another important factor that we need to take seriously into consideration. From the regional point of view, first and foremost, as I said, when we look at that impressive menu, the people of Kosovo and their leaders must help facilitate the peace process and its successful ending in their land, simply by creating the required conditions for the existing minority communities in Kosovo and those minorities who wish to return back to their rightful homes there, such as I mentioned, the Ashkalis, the Guranis, the Romas, including the Serbs and the Turks. They should put aside their animosity, vendetta, or the tit-for-tat behaviors. They should distance themselves from the past and invest their powers and energies for a bright and peaceful future of their children in Kosovo. In order to successfully achieve all of these noble objectives, they should sincerely guarantee, as I said earlier, the rights of the minority communities in Kosovo. They must include the minority communities in the day-to-day administration of Kosovo, and basically they should provide a shining example to the rest of the world by providing sufficient physical, social, and economic protection to those communities, the minority communities throughout Kosovo. Here, I must say loud and clear to the people of Kosovo and to their honest leaders that they should not believe even for one moment those who on one hand claim that they want an independent Kosovo, and on the other hand they block and hamper all the ways and means for the physical, social, and economic protection of minority communities in Kosovo. These two things and codes of behavior are totally in contradiction with each other. People as such are not for independence. They are a bunch of hypocrites that I have personally coined them as war and ethnic entrepreneurs. They are for partition and ethnic cleansing of Kosovo. Such people should never be believed in, for the one and the only thing that such individuals are working for is, I believe, their own greedy personal interest. Such people just work for themselves to remain in power and accumulate more and more wealth at the cost and the backbone of the industrious and innocent people of Kosovo.